As some of you may have already known, I have played the Google Doodle Champion Island Games, and off screen I have completed every single task. I have every trophy. The whole island is just raining petals, and to be honest, it's getting obnoxious. There's no way to turn it off. But today I have here a tier list for all the sports that you can play in Google Doodle Champions Island Games. I can confirm that all these sports are at least enjoyable to a certain degree, but some are better than others, and some are just worse than others. Alright, first on the list is table tennis, also known as ping pong. Now, mechanically speaking, you only need to press the up and down arrow to hit the ping pong balls. You don't really need to press spacebar to hit them. The only reason for you to hit spacebar is when the bar below you is full, and you can unleash your counter barrage attack. It doesn't matter where the ping pong balls are at, behind you, in front of you, or anywhere. They will automatically put points into your score if you press the spacebar. Now, in terms of difficulty, it's the easiest out of all of these. It's not that hard. There are still harder games, even if you mix in all the alternate states, but then the challenge shifts from you winning to preventing Tengu from earning any scores. Now, that is the real challenge. In terms of enjoyability, I actually enjoyed it a lot, and I enjoyed Tengu's cutscenes. I'm gonna put this in the A tier. It was fun. Next up is skateboarding. Now, skateboarding in terms of difficulty, there is none. You can go about the entire game just doing kick flips and grinding. That's all you need to do. The appeal of it is for you to get as many scores for the leaderboard. Now, that is where skateboarding becomes the most useful. But in terms of enjoyability, it doesn't really appeal to me because one, the time limit gives you enough time for you to pass the stage, and two, even counting in the alternate stage, which is just a bigger area, the range of actions you can do are limited. But I'm not saying it's bad, it just doesn't appeal to me as much as the others. So I'm putting this in the C rank. The next one is a very tricky one, archery. I have heard from several other people that it is very, very hard. But thankfully, there's only one stage for you to actually get your bearings on. There's no like gate 1, gate 2, gate 3. There's no other stages of archery where it amps up the difficulty. This is the only one you get. And as the only thing you get, as the only gate, as the only stage, it's actually pretty fair. Now, I have no doubt in my mind that this will be the sport that you restart the most, but it is absolutely worth it. I actually enjoyed this a lot. Learning about the mechanics of it, you know, if you string it up just right with all the fans lined up and the target at the back, and you shoot, it's the most satisfying thing ever. When the dynamite is just close enough to the other fans and there are targets you shoot at, that's also pretty satisfying. I know a lot of people have problems with it, but for me, it reaches a perfect balance of difficulty and enjoyability. Some people say Yoichi is unfair, but to be honest with you, all the champions are unfair, with the exception of Tanuki. These are champions, and they're supposed to be the best of what they do. It's intense battle. I enjoy it a lot going into S rank. Next one is rugby. There's only one stage for rugby, and to be honest with you, I didn't really like it. I didn't really enjoy it. It seems simple enough, right? You move with the arrow keys and you pass with the spacebar. But the problem is the AI isn't really that smart. Your teammates constantly like go into rocks, and they're always at a position that is unsavory, to say the least. And the hitboxes for the rocks are a little bit too high for my taste. With that said, the satisfaction of you crossing, doing a touchdown, is enjoyable. But since you only need to do it once, it's a really fleeting moment. It's a really fleeting feeling. Overall, it's just very, very average. Like, just going it in D. Next up, artistic swimming is the most fun out of all of these. It's not the most difficult, but it is the most fun. And I think it's the most fair, because if you play it, you will have a sense of, oh, am I doing it wrong? It feels like my controls aren't responsive, but they are. They certainly are. It plays like a Guitar Hero game, artistic swimming, and it's a very, very good twist, because I thought artistic swimming would be just the same as marathon. You just go from left to right. But they really took the artistic into the name and made it a very fun concept. There are 3 alternative stages, and each one of them has a different soundtrack, which is awesome. And they're all different in terms of where you hit the keys. I wouldn't say they amp up in difficulty like table tennis, but they offer variety, and that's pretty good, I think. This one's going in the S tier, baby. Booyah. Next up is climbing, which is the most infuriating one. More infuriating than archery. Not only do you have to contend with the stage layout, but it's also about luck and timing. Of course, you have these rock climbing hooks that move from up to down, and there's also some that degrade over time. You can't hold on to them as long as you want to. Now that in of itself is not a problem. I actually like that idea. The problem is when that stupid owl is throwing snowballs at your face at like very, very sporadic and seemingly random points in the stage, which that is an element of luck which I do not enjoy at all. Very frustrating. The satisfaction you would get from it doesn't really outweigh the frustrations you get. But I would say this, the cutscene for it is very nice, right? The opening cutscene is this giant owl like pouring from his scoop like land and like animals coming out of it, and the other scoop is like water, fish and shit coming out of it, and you lucky just getting towered over. It really sets the tone, but doesn't really stick the landing. E gets a passing grade just because of that cutscene. Last but certainly not least is Marathon. Now the first time I played it, I skipped the instructions and just raw dogged it. Did not notice that when you press the spacebar, you become invisible for a limited amount of time. Now you don't necessarily need to do this on the first stage, but the second stage, you most certainly need to use it. If I were to only judge it as only the main stage, it's a pretty strong contender. But the second stage, man, holy crap, it is so long. The first stage is 400 meters, the second stage is 1,500 meters in terms of the game, of course. Very long. Very, very long. And the thing is, with 400 meters, you could still catch up if you mess up once. But like with 1,500 meters, when you're at the finish line and you accidentally hit the crab, it is just, oh my god, the most heart-crushing thing ever. Whether it is worth it, I don't really think it is. Because with archery, it's tense. All right, you can either win by a hair's length or lose by a hair's length. All right, but with marathon, once you fuck up at like the last quarter of the track, it's just, why am I doing this? I should just restart. It makes you feel disempowered. And I do not think with the characters that represent Marathon, which are the Kiji Muna, I do not think that is the type of feeling they expect you to get. Now, credit where credit is due. I certainly love the fact that there are also Paralympic contestants in there. I'm really torn on Marathon. It's the most straightforward in terms of like what you have to do, but it's also not very fulfilling. It's not very fun. It's not very replayable. Alright? It's just when you complete it, it's done. I'm never gonna touch it again. It's that type of deal. So it's not completely bad. I'm not gonna put it in the F tier or anything. I'm gonna put it in the E tier. Gets a passing grade from me still, just barely. So yeah, this is my final ranking for each sport. Don't at me if you disagree, but do comment down below and see if it fits in your line of what the ranking should be. Or if you don't agree, there will be a link for you to make your own tier list for the sports.